right next to me is the most powerful production Ford Mustang ever built, the 2020 Shelby GT500. 5.2-liter supercharged cross-plane crank V8 that makes 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque. Now, I call out that it has a cross-plane crank because that's the big difference between this and the GT350 engine, which is a flat-plane crank. Therefore, this only revs to 7,500 RPM versus the 8,250 of the naturally aspirated 350. This is a lot more power than the regular 350. Specifically, 234 horsepower and 196 additional pound-feet of torque. Therefore, this thing is an absolute monster. So traditionally, the GT500 was really just a straight line car. It made a lot of power, but it couldn't handle turns. That has completely changed with this generation of GT500. This can do everything. It's fast in a straight line, brilliant transmission, it's pretty comfortable, and it can take proper turns around a racetrack, not just taking a bunch of left turns in a big oval like a road course, autocross, whatever you want. It has the power, it has the transmission, it has the suspension, it has all the parts. The one I'm driving this week is a regular level GT500. There's a couple iterations up. All are the GT500 model, but you can have the handling pack, which adds some handling features. You can also have the carbon fiber track pack, which carries a hefty sticker price of almost $20,000, but brings you exposed weave carbon fiber wheels, a bigger rear wing made of carbon fiber, and associated other touches that hopefully justify that very expensive price. But that is what you need to do to have the top iteration of GT500 performance. Another major difference between the GT500 and the 350s is the transmission. This vehicle only comes with a 7-speed dual clutch. You cannot get a manual anymore in the Shelby GT500. In comparison, the 350 was a Tremec 6-speed manual only. Now, this is rear-wheel drive only, but despite all of that, and when you get the expensive carbon fiber track pack, everything with the supercharger, the bigger brakes, adds up to a slightly higher curb weight. And actually, it's a bit more than slightly. It's about 500 pounds heavier than a 350. So this thing is right around 4,200 pounds, which is a bit big, but it makes up with it with a ton of horsepower and torque. The American horsepower wars are doing quite well, actually. You think about a C7ZR1 at 755, Hellcat Red Eyes making almost 800, and this was 760. It wasn't so long ago that in order to get 700 horsepower, you had to spend like $500,000 on a Ferrari or something absurd. And now for under $100,000, you can have a 700 plus horsepower Shelby. In terms of exterior styling, the GT500 is very, very aggressive, even more so than the regular 350 and 350R. The front is widened out. This entire fascia is refreshed. It does still have the same headlight design as the slightly older 350s, but around back the taillights have updated to the newer styling of the latest generation of Mustangs. You immediately see the hood is different. It's got these massive vents, this power bulge. It's much more aggressive. I think it looks very, very awesome. You also have the kind of hood pins there for added safety and security when you're tracking this car at very high speeds. Something else to note, the wheels are bigger. I think I briefly mentioned it, but 20-inch wheels are standard on the GT500 versus 19s on the 350. You also have slightly bigger brakes, so big Brembo brake calipers behind these wheels. You can get the upgraded carbon fiber, which is exposed weave, which look very awesome and are also very, very expensive. More aggressive side skirts there too, around back, a larger wing, but that wing here on the non-carbon fiber track pack car is shared with the last of the 350s and just regular 350s. With the carbon fiber track pack and the handling pack, you actually get like the extra little side things. I don't remember the technical term for that, but just more aggressive aerodynamic on the entire vehicle. Tires are still massively wide and sticky. PS Forest on this one, you get Cup 2s with the carbon fiber track pack. The overall styling of the car, I like. When it initially launched, I admit I wasn't a huge fan of the front end with the kind of the big gaping black opening with the black painted center bar there. The Shelby logos are obviously cool, but I thought the 350 looked a little more cohesive, a little more smooth. This is undeniably more aggressive and more angry looking. And as time has gone on, spending time with it, it's really growing on me. It is just menacing on the road. This is finished in Twister Orange with white stripes. I had a red one a couple of days ago that was also very awesome. Overall, parking this next to my 350R, I personally still am biased towards my 350R because I love the way it looks, but this thing is just way more aggressive in every single angle. can't help but smile when you have 760 horsepower. So we're in the 500 now, taking it for a drive. We'll talk about what it's like to drive this thing, because that is an important part of reviewing a car. It's hilarious. Having owned a 350R for a bit now, I always wonder what it'd be like to have a forced induction version of this car. And this is sort of like it, but not really, because it's actually a very, very different experience. The fact that you have a supercharged engine and this dual clutch completely transforms the driving experience. Now, without a single doubt, this car is much more capable. It is immensely fast. Even though it weighs 4,200 pounds for that curb weight, that's pretty hefty, and it's a significant increase over the GT350. It more than makes up for it with an immense amount of power and all the supporting features you would need to make this car handle well. I've had the good fortune of doing a couple laps in a 500, and I can confirm it takes corners really, really well. Sticky tires, magnetic ride suspension with adjustable damping, massive brakes, wide wheels and tires. It does all the things you need it to do. This dual clutch transmission is a first. A lot of purists got all pissy when you couldn't get a GT500 in a manual again, because they're used to their Shelbys having a manual transmission, and you couldn't even option one in this car if you wanted to. But from a progression standpoint and fitting the character of this car and what they were trying to accomplish, it was without a doubt the correct decision. It rips off very quick shifts. I'm in just regular sport mode right now, and you feel paddle shifters, you hear them going off. It is very quick edge shifting, and then when you go full throttle, it also shifts very quick then, too. Holy crap, you hear that like punch as it gives you that next gear. Now, 7 speeds, dual clutches, sometimes the earlier ones in terms of behavior at lower speeds and just kind of moving around parking lots, it is a little more different. You don't have that torque converter that smooths things out. So this car is pretty good at doing that. I also naively thought with 7 gears that this car would get better fuel economy than my car on the freeway, and I think I got like 18 on the freeway trying to get good fuel economy. So that 7th gear doesn't really do much in terms of that. But you have 760 horsepower, so who cares? Who cares about fuel economy? You just do this all the time. Whoa! Yeah. Before I completely forget, let's talk about the GT500 price. Starts at just under $73,000. I think it's $72,900, but you can easily option it over $100,000. So this may be the most powerful production Mustang ever made, but it also is one of the most expensive production Mustangs ever made. This car here is a relatively more base-equipped vehicle. We don't have the handling pack, which I think is $1,500 and adds a couple features: catch can, the gurney flap, little canards up front, the little winglets, and the carbon fiber track pack obviously is the most intense version of it, which brings carbon fiber wheels, which reduce your unsprung weight and are also very expensive. You get the bigger wing out back. That's a almost $20,000 option. It's $18,000 something. Painted stripes can be $10,000. So you can take this car from that $72,900 and make it over $100,000. I option one to $106 on the configurator. This serves as a more moderate example of this one sticker for I think $82,000, and you get all the experience too. If you're not tracking it every single day, you don't need Cup 2s and carbon wheels, because this car offers 99% of the experience of the 500, which is that motor and transmission combination. Now, we need to talk about dealer markup too. When the 350 first came out, dealers were asking stupid markup, and I don't know if they had success with that, which emboldened them, because the markup on these cars got even more insane. Like, dealers are asking $50,000 over sticker. Like, people were like, you got to pay $160 to get yourself a GT500. I'm like, huh? I'm sorry, that is dumb. This car is epic for, let's just say, $100,000 for even number's sake. It is essentially as fast as cars 2 to 3 times its price for that amount of money. So it serves as an amazing performance value. But when you add up markup, then it just becomes irritating, and I don't like ADM. Regardless, this car, as it is absolutely worth this as option $80,000 price point. I would pay the extra $20,000 over my 350R for what you get extra. The power is hysterical, and everything that comes together with this car makes it feel very cohesive. Now, would I ever replace my 350R with this car? No. I would add one, but I'm not baller enough to do that at the moment. But there's such a different experience. I wouldn't replace my manual, naturally high revving car with a GT500. compared to some of its other American rivals. People naturally always are going to ask, how does it compare to a Hellcat? Because supercharged rear-wheel drive American car for a similar amount of money. I haven't been able to drive the latest of the wide-body updated Hellcats, but compared to the earlier ones, it's not a competition anymore. And even I think with the newer ones, this is still going to take it, because this was tuned for serious track work, whereas the Hellcat was more just max horsepower, comfortable coupe, sports coupe. This thing handles so much better. It hides its weight quite well. The dual clutch transmission feels more kind of track focused. And the whole car, when you look at it, you feel like, okay, yeah, this was set up more for turning down the best possible lap time, so the Hellcat just being amazingly quick in a straight line and having some comfort with it too. So comparing the two of them, the 500 is my pick still. Even though a red eye makes more power, the 500 to me is what you want to have. I think that just about wraps up this review. I've hit all of the main points I wanted to discuss. I could talk about this car, the 350R, just these types of cars for hours if I wanted to, but then this YouTube video would end up too long and I'd probably run out of memory card space. Having been a Mustang person since I was a little kid, my dad was an engineer at Ford, so I would go to Take Your Child to Work Day and we'd see the Mustangs. They'd be like, oh, that's so cool. And that's what kind of led me to when I was shopping for my first car right after graduating college. I was thinking BMW M3, E92. Then I was like, wait, Boss 302s are a car and they're at that price point now. And I went and drove one. I was like, yes, I'm buying a Boss 302 Laguna Seca. Now, a couple years later, I have a 350R in my garage. Spending a week with this 500 has been awesome. It is a lot of fun, a lot of respect to Ford making this thing. It's impressive, very, very impressive. And with that, make sure you guys check out, I did a 350 versus 500 where I tried to talk about the two of them back to back next to each other, comparing the differences and the similarities. I have the vlog of living with this 500 for a week, having a lot of fun. A lot of fuel was burned. I'm showing half a tank right now. It says 93 miles to empty. So if that indicates to you what kind of fuel economy I've been getting, it makes sense. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate all the support. See you guys later.